Welcome to another episode of Tangled Rights. We have an unidentified guest in the room. He's a dope-ass guy. Good friends with us. Just went to lunch together. What did we have? Where was it?
Ali Brehace on Fremont Street.
Shout out. Today's episode 52.
53.
53?
Yeah.
Whatever. I feel like that's a lie. But I don't,
Austin, 53,
I don't remember
right?
52. Did we make a big deal about it being a year?
I kind of shut you down because 52 is the end of a year and 53 would be the start of the year. But we did one extra episode, so we're still not on the first anniversary of when we recorded our very first episode.
All right. Well, either way, we're here. Get used to it. I skipped the other part.
Yeah, you did.
We're lawyers still.
There you go. We're lawyers in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, Clark County. Clark County, if you've heard of it.
It's the biggest county in the state of Nevada, population-wise.
Yes, it is.
Population-wise.
It is not the capital, though. Carson City is the capital.
A large margin as well.
We were talking today how cool it is that we live in Las Vegas. That is a city people talk about. We saw somebody recording some kind of movie or TV show or something as we were driving over.
There was a movie that was being recorded down by the federal courthouse.
Our downtown courthouse is right by famous Fremont Street, which not really a family-friendly place. It's kind of
during the day. It's okay.
It's kind of the, how do you say it nicely? Kind of the. Not sketchier. I wouldn't say it's
not
sketchy.
sketchier.
It's just more
because it's the old area,
lewd?
It's the old downtown area. You deal with a lot more townies.
Yes.
To put it in a way that's not crappy.
There are more unhoused individuals.
You mean there's more homeless people down there?
Yes. Why do you care what I say? I'm not caring that you're saying homeless. Why can't I say unhoused?
Now we're allowed to police each other's language.
Okay,
so.
Cool. We'll do it to each other. There's just a lot more
trying to be like
local presence, whatever.
No, for sure.
So,
you get
good
that
restaurants,
local flavor.
Good flavor. We've seen people throwing up or peeing on the ground there a lot too. It smells like urine a lot more places.
Sometimes if you're there at the right time of day, you'll see someone stab somebody else.
Yeah. No, that doesn't happen. So we're lawyers in Las Vegas. We're not intending to create a legal relationship through what we're saying here. We always give that disclaimer. If you want to contact us about becoming our client, check out our website, coxwells.com.
100%.
All right. Since it is the 1 year anniversary-ish, we're going to talk about Darell Brooks. We've alluded to Darell Brooks a lot. We're going to have to put in a lot of little snippets. Darell Brooks... We'll talk about his history a little bit. He grew up, troubled life, a lot of criminal history, got in his first problems as a junior in high school, got arrested, went through juvenile. He, for a period, he's from Wisconsin, around the area of Milwaukee. For a period, he lived out to Reno. We're talking about Nevada.
Reno, Carson biggest City, little city?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they call it?
The biggest little city is the tagline of Reno. So he's specifically in Sparks, which is a suburb of Reno. It's basically within Reno. And he picks up more criminal charges. He impregnated a 15-year-old, which is below our statute of limitations here. Okay.
Well, it's below the
statute of, different kind of statute.
It's statutory rape.
It is a statutory rape. It is below the age of consent in Nevada.
And there's a subpart to that statute that says if you're a teacher, it doesn't matter if they're 18.
Yeah. Okay. Which is great. Fantastic. That's
they're a student?
Basically, if they're a student under your whatever, then you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, until after school's over. I don't. Thankfully, we haven't had to deal with that. We don't.
Not on
like
this end. When I was a prosecutor,
cases.
I had an appeal and it was one of those where I remember seeing it and thinking, oh, this lawyer had to sign his name on this. He was arguing that it was that statute, because it runs next to, but increases the statutory rape penalty for somebody who has a relationship that's not, it's a student-teacher thing, that it violated their freedom of association. First Amendment. And it's wow.
Which certainly is
that's an argument, but I wouldn't want to sign my name on that.
Which is in the best interest of the criminal defendant, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're trying to avoid any kind of penalties for their alleged crime. It's one of those that one day it's not a crime, and one day it is a crime, and the next day it might not be a crime. That's
Correct.
one of those weird ones, right?
Yep.
So Darell Brooks is about our age, mine and your age. Okay. He is convicted of this crime specifically of impregnating a young girl. Lifetime registry, sex crime registry, which passes state to state. Moves back to Wisconsin, has some other domestic violence charges. He's actually out on bond in the year of 2021. So we'll take you to, how do I say this? Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Is that how you say it? Really?
I think so.
So 2020, there's kind of a festival, a parade that the city of Waukesha has.
This is that fool that ran those.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what we're talking about.
Fuck him. Sorry.
I know. Okay. There we are with the language. But he deserves it. He deserves it 100%. So they did not have their parade in 2020 because of COVID. In 2021, we're kind of moving beyond COVID. So November 21st, 2021, Darell Brooks is out on bail for these other crimes that he's alleged to have committed. And he is driving a red small SUV, a Ford Escape, red 2010, and he runs over a number of people. There are first 5 people who die kind of at the scene.
Wasn't one of them like 80?
And then
90?
There's older, and then there's some minors as well, or at least one minor. And then later, a couple of days after, a 6th person dies from these injuries.
Sucks.
Completely horribly sad. People didn't understand at the time. There's reporting at the time of this accident. People are hopeful it's some sort of accident. Darell Brooks has some mental issues. I think we can all agree with that.
Fair.
He's diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I'm sure there's some other underlying conditions as well.
Was there any allegations of like drug use?
I don't think there was at this time. No.
The reason I ask is obviously that makes a lot of times you get just exacerbated whenever you have.
They're saying there may have been a domestic dispute just proceeding. Okay. And then all the reports came in that he was kind of driving in a zigzag pattern, and it looked like he was intentionally hitting people.
Whoa. Like going.
Yeah, that's, and there are so many versions of this, of what people see. Maybe they see one turn and think that it's difficult to know, know, and it'll be impossible to put together. So Darell Brooks, in his infinite wisdom, decides during his case that he is the best person to represent himself in his case. And so he is granted the opportunity to go pro se, pro per. We kind of hear those interchangeably, pro se or pro per, represent himself in his criminal trial. He had been through the criminal system before.
How do we feel about that, Shane?
And thought that maybe he knew how to do it. Just taking a drink here. People are probably need other opinions outside to know what they should do in a criminal case. You should not just listen to your own advice. And guess what? All the pro se people we've seen representing themselves in criminal trials, all of the ones we've studied, end up getting convicted.
Doesn't go well for him, does it?
No. Waukesha is how Wikipedia is telling it. I apologize to the people of Waukesha. It is a suburb of Milwaukee, but kind of its own little town, it looks like. So it kind of operates on its own, but not too far out of Milwaukee. So Waukesha, okay?
Yes.
Seems like a pretty tight-knit community. Population is 71,000, which is not a crazy amount.
But it's also not small for that area.
It's
Because
not
like a small town out there is going to be like 1,400 people.
Because presumably there's a lot of people that go into Milwaukee to work as well. So Darell Brooks decides to represent himself. We're going to dive a little bit into what we call sovereign citizens, because Darell Brooks seems to align with this mindset. Okay.
Is he the one that was constantly saying that they didn't have jurisdiction?
Yes, subject matter jurisdiction. Yeah. So sovereign citizens don't call themselves sovereign citizens usually. Yeah, they don't refer to themselves with this phrase. It's kind of language that's been given to them by the U.S. government. Is kind of the FBI uses that phrase.
I thought that was their thing.
They do not call themselves sovereign citizens at all. They have a lot of different words. Just if you can, give us a concise. What is a sovereign citizen?
So essentially, it's a person who feels like they're basing their opinions, and I'm not quoting this off of anything. This is just the way I interpret it. They're basing their opinions about how the individual should interact with the government on the idea that the Constitution gives us all these, the Constitution enumerates these rights that are imbued in us by our Creator, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, yada, yada.
Freedom of association,
all these things, right? And that outside of that, those are just the rights that are enumerated. Outside of that, the government has this social contract that they didn't sign up for. And the government can't just tell them what to do. And so if you look at it from the perspective of like, these people are saying like, oh, in the animal kingdom, the lion doesn't get to tell the hyena where it sleeps, right?
Yes.
Unless it beats it up, but just generally speaking. And so that seems to be where they're kind of going with that. And the crappy thing is I sort of agree with them on a level.
So you can understand the ideas.
Yeah.
By being born in the United States, I didn't agree to
speed limits
to be a part of the Social Security system and pay my income into Social Security. This kind of movement kind of gave rise in the 1960s and beyond. And it's in a lot of English speaking places. This movement appears in the United Kingdom. It appears in Australia, New Zealand. It is some other places, and there's not like a unified organization at all. So that's why it's kind of hard to tell. And I watch a lot of police encounters, and you see this idea kind of pop up differently with different people. One of the common themes is that someone driving a car is not driving. They're traveling, okay? And you have a right to travel from state to state, okay?
Yes.
That's part of our enumerated rights as Americans, okay? Under this Constitution, which
do you remember that?
Is in line with, I can go wherever I want as a human being. So the Constitution gives you that right to travel.
No.
It enumerates that right.
Yeah, you already have the right.
Well, here's the thing, is we are under the jurisdiction of government, whether we like it or not, right?
That's just
we are going to get arrested. There are going to be people drawing guns on you.
But that's
in certain circumstances. It's made up. Yeah, sure, it's made up. But it is the system that we're under.
I understand.
Okay?
I'm being them.
It is the system we're under, and we are not calling for a revolution. Let's just put that out there.
No, I was playing like devil's advocate. So like when you're being you're saying this is the contract that we all live under, and I was saying, oh well, I didn't sign up for that, or
right? And we didn't, right?
No,
we didn't. But that is the world that we're in.
Correct.
And if you do not have correct license plates, well, this is not a good example in Las Vegas. There are some states that
why is that not a good example, Shane? Because you can do whatever you want here.
There are so many people with no license plates on their cars, and I see them all over,
and they get to do what they want.
Never seem to get pulled over. Well, the real ID thing went into effect right now, so airports are having issues.
Yeah, good luck
all
with
over.
That.
So we won't get into that, but it's hard to get into the DMV right now. Whatever, but there's been kind of a recent uptick I've seen, people not having license plates on their car at all, including mine right now. So I don't want to say anything.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Shout out Metro.
But
Metro. He's right here.
Oh, okay. Austin called you in.
People get pulled over all the time, and I see them come up with this, hey, I have this kind of script that can tell you that I actually have a right to travel, So they think that they don't need a driver's license because they are traveling. They're not driving. Okay?
The best is that kid that we had that we got him like a sweetheart deal on a case that was going to get a drop down. He was going to end up without a felony, and I think it was an armed robbery or something. And then fast forward 3 months, he gets arrested because he's DUI in a car that's one of those self-driving cars. And his logic was, A, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. B,
hey, that's closer.
I didn't do anything. The car did it.
How did the car do it though? Doesn't it follow the rules?
Yeah, the car wasn't intoxicated.
So we did have a client who reached out to us as well who said I don't think he called it a sovereign citizen, but it sounded like somebody was trying to get him to go to some sort of symposium, some kind of training where they talk about
that
this
one
too, right? And they don't ever tag themselves as, hey, we're sovereign citizens. It's more like, hey, we have the right way to read these things.
Yeah.
Other people just don't understand.
Obviously.
And we want to sell you money to come to my symposium and follow my way of reading. And they give you like little scripts. Some people have like things printed up on their car that kind of say,
it's like any other script where it says this is what you say whenever the cops try to pull you out of the car, blah, blah, blah.
So the idea behind this being, it seems like a lot of conflated legal terms that they say that as an attorney, I don't understand what they're saying.
They say things and it's literally word salad.
They say, I'd call it word salad. That's exactly what it is. They say legal sounding terms.
They're real words, and they probably are legal words, but it's literally like you took all the legal words and you threw them in a bucket, and you like Bowling for Soup, how they got their name. The band?
Yeah.
They did it that way. They literally just put names in a hat. It was like
a first name,
something like that.
Preposition.
Preposition, yeah. Which is funny. It's a great name and way to do it. Whatever. It's not a good way to do legal arguments.
So, and that helps us understand Darell Brooks and where he's coming from, because they don't trust lawyers, because they think lawyers are in on the system, which there's some evidence of that sometimes they are. I think if you have Justin as your attorney, you'll see him be nice to the prosecutors sometimes and really get after him sometimes. So depends on what day.
Today with that waiver we had, that lady got kind of irritated at me. She's like, "You're over there laughing with her." I'm like, "Yeah, she's funny. What do you want?"
That's how I get better deals, is by being friends with them.
Yeah. Okay? Versus if you see me with Nima sometimes, shout out.
Nima's your friend, but sometimes you guys...
She's a frenemy.
Butt heads.
Sometimes you'd think I was going to choke her, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. She should choke you. I agree. Why not?
I don't know. She's too short. I'll just stand up and go like this.
It'll help her get aggression out.
Yeah, sure. No, it'd be good for her.
So Darell Brooks wants to represent himself because he doesn't trust the system. Okay? One of the things sovereign citizens say is if there's yellow fringe on the flag, that means it's maritime law and it doesn't apply, right? Or admiralty law or something like that.
They say weird stuff.
There's a lot of weird
strange things that I can't. I don't doubt that they're real words, and it's maybe even in the right order, but I can't follow it. So
yeah, and so if we can't follow it, we're the licensed attorneys, and having this kind of fake law thing that you have, it doesn't really help in court.
No.
So I don't understand the point of it. You're going to get pulled over. I don't think people really have wins from this. You get pulled over if you don't have license plates. And then I see a lot of people get arrested because they don't have a license. Yeah, they got all sorts of issues. So Darell Brooks, one of the constant themes he says is he asked the judge to prove subject matter jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction is a real thing. Typically, you'll see it in civil law. It is a thing in criminal law, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It has to, for criminal law, we can't have somebody charged for crimes that are done all in California, okay? Can't be charged for crimes here in Nevada, okay? Correct. Outside of federal court, there might be some issues there. But you can't be charged in a state court where those crimes didn't happen. So you could...
Unless it's like one of those crimes where you're in the state of Nevada and you're committing fraud...
Right, and there's a ton of multi-state crimes.
Right, I'm just saying
there's a ton of financial crimes
for our keyboard warriors out there. They're going, no, obviously it's nuanced, but the idea is if I commit a robbery in this state with a gun, California can't charge me, or vice versa.
Right. Okay. So that is the subject matter jurisdiction of criminal law. Have you ever had to challenge that? I can't imagine that that's something that should be challenged. Sometimes
the only way I think you'd run into it is if you were in a border state, like in a border town, and let's say there was a high-speed chase going or something.
Sure, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas,
or
example.
Coffeyville to South Coffeyville, Kansas to Oklahoma.
Okay, there you go. Better one.
I prefer it because then we're not talking about Missouri. You know how I feel about them.
So, subject matter jurisdiction, not that big of a thing, and you can raise it as an issue, as a primary issue, but this is something that he brings up. I think we'll be able to find a video of him saying the word subject matter jurisdiction just over and over and over again. And the court, it just has to be so patient and say, I gave you an order on that. I gave you an order on that.
She chose to.
She chose to. She was very, very...
At a certain point, she could be like, listen, Mr.
Very
Brooks.
kind and kept referring him back to this. And classic excuse maybe we hear from our clients, I didn't get a copy of that. It's like,
okay,
hey, you do have a copy of that. I'll give you another one. That's fine. And just has to be the most patient person of everyone. The prosecutors were the same prosecutors that are still on it even today, because this is going through an appeals process. They tried to be very patient. Mr. Brooks got banned from the courtroom quite a few times too, from his outbursts and just emotions that he had.
I know you're having some big feelings right now.
He was having a lot of feelings.
Whomst among us?
He almost waived his right to give a closing argument. He was very close. The judge was very patient and kept asking him, and he kept bringing up subject matter jurisdiction again to her. And it's like talking to a toddler, talking to children, where it's like, okay, that's not what we're talking about right now. Come with me, okay? We're at closing argument time. Are you ready?
Or like when we're talking to a judge about whether or not an attorney's lien is perfected.
Don't.
And the question is,
Don't get into that.
Is the bill load? Well, Your Honor.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're here for.
So Darell Brooks does cross-examination, does an opening statement, does closing argument. He eventually is allowed to do closing arguments. He has quite a fight with the judge about jury nullification too. And
did he say you're allowed to do this?
Yeah.
He said the quiet part out loud is the only issue.
And he was warned right beforehand that he could not do that, that he was not going to be allowed to talk about jury nullification.
You can't create your own conflict.
Then he started talking about it and he had to get shut down.
Sometimes you gotta grab him by the neck.
Well, there were a lot of issues in this case. We bring him up a lot because it's just, he's creating more of a problem for himself. He could have challenged things like identity, making sure that they had the right person, that he was actually the one driving the vehicle. There are things that could have been challenged in this case from a defense point of view that I think we all know that he was the one driving and he had these issues and he was the one that was doing this, and they proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but he gave himself,
so saith the jury of his peers,
no help whatsoever. And because he never admitted or accepted responsibility for it too, at sentencing, it just could go even worse, right? And I'm not saying that anybody should avoid trial, because
they're right.
Because the state, you should just accept what they say and accept responsibility. I think it is completely fine to hold the state to their burden at all times. Okay. But there is some point where it's not even in your best interest to do that.
Like your friend Rob from the DA's office?
My buddy Rob from the DA's office. Yeah.
Yes. He had a trial this week that settled right before opening statements. They already get the jury impaneled, and it was a 2 or 3 felony count case.
Okay.
And they had
told me about it. It was
they had previously offered a couple of innocuous misdemeanors for credit for time served.
Oh, wow.
I want to say one was a battery and something else. So nothing that's going to ruin your life, right?
Okay.
You might have to answer some questions about it, but it's not going to be crazy. And credit for time served. It's
So
like
he's
4 months ago.
Nothing.
That's what they offered. He didn't want it. So he sits in jail for 4 months and then takes it at trial. Meanwhile, the issue is you've got a witness saying one thing who also then perjures herself. Not a great witness from the state's perspective, but at the same time, the risk you run versus taking this misdemeanor and the case is done. You have no requirements, you have no probation, you have no nothing, no supervision, you just back out living your life. Perjure is when you lie under oath. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Or, whatever. They have non-secular word. Is it secular? It means non-religious, right?
Yeah.
They have a secular version. Sorry, I'm tired today. And of that same statement. And it's okay, in that instance, maybe I do tell you just to take it. Because it's it is your option, but the offer is so good that maybe it's a good idea.
There's something we talked. Austin asked me this week about what are the chances that Diddy's going to be acquitted, and I said low to none. Like,
Nil.
and I just said look up conviction rates. Like, just the simple argument. Sex trafficking, yeah. 89% conviction
Also,
rate.
it's the feds, bro.
And they take this very seriously. He's
They're
high
throwing
profile.
every available resource at it.
Yeah. So
And
the conviction rates on all crimes are typically hovering at least 90%. Like, so a person in their own is going to say, oh, there's no way they can find me guilty. We hear this all the time from our clients. And they give us a version of events sometimes, and then evidence and even video comes out that's different than what they say. Okay? Which is going to be a good segue real soon. So you need somebody else there to talk to you and tell you, like, I'm not telling you that you're guilty. I'm telling you how a neutral person is going to see this.
And I'm telling you what the risks are if you go this way or that way.
You want to roll a dice, and, you know, if you roll an 11 or 12, you're free. If you roll 10 or below, you know, it's not going to be good for you. Okay. And that's about what the odds are. That's about what the odds are for going to a jury trial. So incredibly difficult to be acquitted at a jury trial. Incredibly difficult.
But it does happen sometimes.
But it does happen. Yeah. We had a big one last year. Somebody to talk to Darell Brooks and tell him, listen, like, this is going to be, there's so many witnesses that are going to say it's a guy that looks exactly like you know, and they're going to identify you as the driver. You're the owner of this red car that was identified on video with the same license plate. And he was found later. One of the weird parts is he fled the scene, wasn't found for a few hours. Okay. Later on, he was at somebody's house and said, can I use your phone? I need to order an Uber. And the guy let him in his house, small town things, right?
Right.
And he was in the house, and then the police came and got to the area. Darell didn't do anything to this guy whatsoever, didn't hurt him at all. Like you see in these movies, you know, that's the next victim, right? He just asked him to leave when the cops come. He does, and then he gets arrested without incident. Sure. So kind of a weird scene there. Interesting scene. He goes to represent himself, does not do well in the trial at all, kind of creates a spectacle, like everything's focused not on the facts and getting to kind of the facts under the crime and whether the state could prove these. Just makes a mockery. We're going to clip in some videos here because it was just like absolutely absurd, some of these things that happened.
No.
Still has yet to be proven for the record. Is that a judicial determination that you don't have to answer that, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, I've already answered subject matter jurisdiction. You know that full well.
No, I don't.
The decision was entered last week.
I know nothing. It has yet to be proved. That's what I know.
The bad mom. Mr. Brooks has a direct role in that causation.
And that's
Furthermore,
I object to that.
I'm not
because
done.
that's a lie.
Let him
Because at the
finish.
end of the day,
Let him
if we
finish,
gonna open the door
Mr.
on that, no,
Brooks.
since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate all on the record. Since you think you know so much.
Once
So
again,
we can
Mr.
open the
Brooks
door
is
on.
being
We can
loud,
open the door on how old she told me
disrespectful,
she was when we met.
interrupting.
We can ask that question
He is
too. Then
over the
Did you
top,
ask that?
animated
Do you
right
know
now.
that?
Mr. Brooks, I'm ordering you to sit down and to let the state
No,
finish.
I'm not going to sit here and let somebody be inaccurate on the record and lie on the record.
Right. Under Illinois versus Allen, I've warned him repeatedly. He's being removed from the courtroom. And you know what? Let me dial that back. We're just going to take an early lunch, 1 hour. We'll be back. And unless he brings that letter and he can show it is inadmissible, she will not be questioned. And under 906.11, I will declare the cross-examination closed. You have to have a person named, sir, so that they can come and testify. You only have an entity named.
Is it not true that under the Sixth Amendment I have the right to face my accuser? Every document that was filed in this matter stated that the state of Wisconsin was the plaintiff, which would lead me to believe that the state of Wisconsin is who's bringing the claim against my client. How could they not be subpoenaed to testify if they're the plaintiff? And under the Sixth Amendment, I have the right to face my accuser. My accuser in this matter is the plaintiff, which is the state of Wisconsin.
but I'm not going to require the state of Wisconsin to testify in this case because they are an entity and you have not named a person.
Are they not? Or are they not the plaintiff, Your Honor?
They are the plaintiff in this case, sir.
And why are they not able to testify, being that
Sir,
they...
you've named an entity, not a person. People are called to the witness stand to testify. You have had an opportunity to cross-examine every single person who has been called by the state to testify in this trial. I believe that your Sixth Amendment rights have been complied with.
And now, we talked about recently, when you go to an appeal, if you're found to be poor, indigent, right, you are assigned an attorney again for your appeal. And then recently, same judge, same prosecutors, he's in there filing a motion again to not have an attorney for his appeal. He wants to write his own appeal. We talked before about
Terrible plan.
what a terrible idea that is and how trial maybe, like we saw Lori Valadebell kind of do something in trial, a little bit more.
She could at least speak publicly in a way that was like very fluid.
And that's what you need at trial, because you're convincing a jury of your peers at an appeal level. It's totally legal. Like there's legal arguments. You apply the facts to the law, but it's so law specific with case law. Like you want somebody that's done this before to do it.
Let's put it this way. We're attorneys. We handle stuff on a regular basis. If you told me I had to do an appeal right now and you were going to pay me $50,000, unless it's an appeal that has no consequences, I'm not doing it. I'm going to call my buddy Steve. I'm not doing that.
And
just because I don't want to screw it up.
Yeah, immediately hire him to take a look at this.
But he's also the former team chief for the DA's office, and like that's what this
appeals,
fool does.
right?
Yeah,
there's specific there are forms. There's formatting. It's a
dude. Do you remember like when we did that
nightmare.
appeal at Paul's office, and it was like,
oh gosh,
having to find the NRAP for whatever, and it's
just stuff we'd never done before. Whenever somebody's in a new realm, like
just getting the cover sheet right is difficult sometimes. And the worst part is that they won't help you. They don't care.
No.
They're just like, look at the rules.
No, and they just made the rules a little bit harder too. Okay, Darell Brooks, good luck in your future. Very, very, very rest in peace to the 6 victims of his horrendous act.
6.
Yeah, ended up being 6.
Not just the dead, but the injured.
And there's so many, there were injured.
Did he run over like
There's
22
family.
people or something like that?
I think it was. And I think this is one where the judge, when she was reading off the sentence, named every single one and sentenced them consecutively for each one. Making a kind of a showing of that.
There won't be a rest of your life outside of prison.
He will be in the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, whatever they call their system there, for
WDOC.
For the rest of his life. WDOC, maybe. I alluded to this a little bit. This one is hitting social media like a storm. Mahendra Patel. Okay, I don't know if you saw this. This is just outside of Atlanta. I know our guest saw this. He sent me something on this too. A Walmart. So you did see this Walmart surveillance footage, right?
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reaction that everyone,
But the best part about
every
this,
single person is having.
for this guy,
Who's he
he's
gonna
going to
sue?
be able to sue the shit out of that.
For what? Because they didn't review the video, or what are you saying?
Because once they reviewed it, they kept him in custody. And it's obvious that it didn't happen.
The way she's saying.
That the crime that is being alleged did not happen.
We don't know the timing on everything, right? He is still today charged.
Yeah.
So he just had a new bond hearing yesterday, as we're recording this, yesterday or the day
and
before.
the judge told the prosecutor.
And he got $10,000 bond. $10,000 bond, which he posted, and he's out now.
I don't care.
But it took 45 days.
That's money that's gone.
In order to do this.
He's never getting it back.
it's not the judge's place, and this is what the judge comments, it's not his place to be the trier of fact at this stage, right? At this stage,
it could be
at this stage to determine whether or not this is an attempted abduction, because he's at least touching the minor, right? He had grabbed her and held her, right? Mm-hmm. Because she was falling off of this electric scooter.
Yeah, she's on like electric scooter.
So one of the things about the purported victim mother, okay, is that I saw comments on. Let me mute this. Is that she did not need that electric scooter in the Walmart. She was just using it because she wanted to. And all the comments came in just trashing her because of this. Because she looks, never want to judge people like, hey, you have some kind of disability that we don't know about, but she admits that she doesn't have any. She just likes to use the scooter because she looks healthy.
Able-bodied.
So she looks able-bodied. She looks like she could walk through a store. And then immediately after, she reverses and knocks over the kind of stanchion or whatever's behind her, and then almost runs over her kid again. Like, just
love that.
Looks ridiculous. So I don't know if it's one of those where she thinks, wow, I want to make some sort of claim for crashing this myself. And then she thinks, oh no, that's not what I should do. I should make a claim against Walmart because this guy tried to abduct my child and they didn't detain him in any way and they let him go. Because that's part of the argument was, oh, he tried to run away, afterwards. He tried to just get away. And then the video is he goes and buys something and leaves. He had a headache and then
he went and bought aspirin.
He wanted Tylenol.
Casually walks to the checkout.
He was asking her where the Tylenol was, supposedly. And then he buys it and leaves and just doesn't look like he's trying to sneak out at all. But just insane that this is what we're looking at right now. And social media is kind of going on a frenzy on this because you could see anybody. We could see ourselves in the shoes of Mr. Patel, just talking to somebody's kid kind of falling, and I'm going to grab the kid and say,
keep the kid from falling 100%.
Like, there you go. You got your kid. You're good, right? Like,
although then it's probably the interaction is going to change for me at that point because I guarantee the person's going to be mad at me after I say what I would be saying next. Are you good, stupid? Like, watch your kid. I don't want to see it bust its head open.
Yeah, I could see you saying
you're welcome.
Yeah. And then maybe she'd want you to get charged even sooner, saying that you were pulling at the kid or something.
He was so mean to me.
Yeah. So we're going to keep our eyes on this because the prosecutor hasn't dismissed the case yet. They didn't dismiss, and they were fighting.
Punched. They need their ticket punched.
They were fighting on bond. So there's definitely anybody that looks at this will think, why are there criminal charges? Why are they still coming after him after seeing this video? There's another guy there. Is that other guy saying there's a witness kind of in the scene too, that right after this happens, he kind of looks and then she almost runs over her own kid. And this guy, mom. Yeah, she kind of like went on a little media tour after this happened before the video came out. Yeah. So there's some,
please buy my shirt.
Yeah, there's something there.
Donate to my GoFundMe.
And so she'll probably spend all that money in a heartbeat, and this guy won't be able to come after her for money for a lot of things that he probably could. But very interesting to watch right now.
Their pockets are deep. And I would call this a violation of due process.
Potentially. What due process is being? Are you saying that there's a wrongful?
Yeah, it's malicious prosecution.
Okay.
Flat out. You have irrefutable video evidence.
Because of the video, you think it's absolutely clear there was no intent there, right?
100%.
Okay.
I think most
people have agreed with
the
that.
Woman's response to what happens after he allegedly attempted to abduct the kid does not say, "Oh my goodness, this person just tried to steal my child." It says, "Oh, that very nice Indian man that I just told where the, whatever was." I don't know. Yeah, the Tylenol. I don't know. It doesn't say what she says it says.
All right.
Stupid.
We'll move on to our next topic. An attorney named Gregory Moore in Cleveland. Okay. Cleveland, Ohio. This is happening this week as well. Greg Moore is accused of doing a lot of things to avoid trial. Okay. We've met some attorneys that like to avoid trial because trial is difficult. It is at least a 16-hour day when you're in trial, preparing for the next day, preparing for witnesses. Why we also recommend people not to represent themselves at all. Trial is difficult. So Gregory Moore was an attorney that did family law, had to do a lot of family trials.
Gross.
And he was found out that he was calling in a lot of bomb threats to the courthouse to avoid trial. Okay. So he had some problems with his bar license. What came out this recent week is there was a cold case murder.
I don't go to work tomorrow.
It gets worse.
At 8 a.m., there'll be a bomb in the building.
There was a cold case murder.
Oh, I don't have to go in today? Damn it.
Of one of his
okay.
One of his family law clients had a trial that she wanted to do.
Okay.
And right before her trial, she was found murdered. Okay. So just this week, he's charged with murder for his client back in 2013 in order to avoid trial.
Ooh,
okay. Free legal advice. Okay. If you want to be an attorney and you want to be a litigation attorney, you have to be ready to go to trial. Otherwise, you're going to lose out on a lot of money, I think. As like, if you're scared to go to trial, other people are going to know that.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're going to want to push you hard and give you worse offers. If you're scared to go to trial, you could do things that you shouldn't do. Absolutely not. This reminds me of now just like Jimmy McGill, Better Call Saul, all the kind of schemes you could come up with to get what you want. And apparently the thing he wanted most was not to go to trial and would even
murder your client.
Potentially murder his client over it.
You know, if the client's being especially whiny or annoying, like they're not going to do that anymore. Obviously, I'm kidding.
Don't even say that, man.
That's ridiculous. Dude. Yeah. Like, that's so, I mean, like you always think, because as a plaintiff's attorney, especially, or as a prosecutor, it's on the defense side, it's not as big a deal. Yeah. So you see them with these delay tactics and it's like, oh, it benefits one side, whatever. You think, oh, they're going to say something. Oh, my dog ate my homework or whatever. But to kill your client?
Let me read you this line from this article. Eliza Sherman was stabbed more than 10 times. Her body found on a downtown Cleveland sidewalk near where she was
Cleveland's a rough city, though.
Near where she was set to meet Moore to discuss her divorce. How was this not found out earlier?
Your divorce is finalized.
Wow. That is...
Phone check.
That's crude. She still has a family. 10 years. It's only been 10 years.
I'm not making light of the fact that he killed her. It's just such an absurd situation. Like, what's the worst I ever want to do to a client? Fire him or yell at him? Hey, you're making my life miserable. For some reason, my stupid butt gave you my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number, as opposed to my work cell phone that I can just leave at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever time.
Put it on Do Not Disturb.
And then I start getting calls from you at 9:30 at night. And then again at 6 a.m.
Who's this? Yeah.
And I want to grab you by the neck. But all I do is say, look, I gave you a privilege and you are abusing it. If you do not stop, I will block you and you can only communicate through me through my office. You're right. I'm so sorry. That's the worst I want to do.
What the worst part of this is they can build a case for a while, I guess, and they wanted to build the case right. In 2017, he had pleaded guilty to false statements to the police during the killing.
And they still didn't catch him?
And they still didn't catch him.
That's on the police department. They're idiots.
Well, they're getting him now, right?
Oh, okay. Let me guess. He confessed or something?
Not yet.
Real
not
hard
yet.
to figure that out.
Not yet. He was indicted this last Friday.
How'd they catch him?
I don't know. Some more text came out. I don't know why they're getting text right now.
10 years later?
But she was supposed to come to his office, which was locked. Okay. And then she returned to her car. Okay.
Meanwhile, he ambushes her.
And then he ambushed her. Yes. Yep.
Jesus. And 10 years ago, that's 2015. I mean, I still feel like CCTV stuff was
this
everywhere.
is
Ring doorbells.
2013. And he had a co-conspirator, it says, but we don't know who it is yet. And so
probably Austin.
Maybe they'll use that as leverage to try and get him to turn on. Yeah. So there's messages between them.
He would have been in Cleveland when he was 12.
In 2012, he admits to calling in bomb threats to delay trials. And his law license suspended in 2017. Did 6 months in jail. This is...
Bro.
I don't...
First off, I didn't even know we could do that. Like... No, but I had
we got to
prelim.
start thinking outside the box, apparently.
Look, how am I going to zealously advocate for my clients? No, I had a prelim today that like I spent a lot of time preparing for yesterday and this morning. That's why I was up very late last night. And then it just didn't go. We resolved it right before.
That's what happens.
No, it's a great resolution. Client's getting probation when she had 3 active cases and a 4th just got charged and she already has 3 prior felonies. She's going to get probation and the treatment she needs, drug court.
I like that. I had a question recently. I was looking up law. Okay.
Oh.
I was just looking up things. We have 2-hour parking right in front of our office right here. Okay. 2-hour parking. And what they'll do to show that you are there only 2 hours is they'll draw chalk on your tires.
Yeah.
Okay. They chalk your tires. So I was looking it up and I was just thinking outside the box a little bit and was like,
Keep that knot.
man,
My hand was in the way.
is this okay for them to chalk your tires? What if I move my car and somehow the chalk doesn't come off?
Vandalism.
All right. Are you ready for this one?
What if I have like really nice Pirelli tires and I don't want you marking on
The
them?
6th Circuit Court of Appeals has declared that chalking your tires
Is free speech.
is a violation of 4th Amendment. Okay? It's a violation of your search and seizure. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're basing it off the case law, you know this decision, U.S. versus Jones. Okay? GPS tracker case.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're in law school...
Was that the one with the barrels or was that the one they put on the car?
This is the GPS on the car.
Okay.
So when we're in law school, the new decisions are always kind of like the hot topic for our teachers. We can kind of tell.
Yeah, like Utah
because they get excited about these.
Which was bullshit.
So our criminal law professors... criminal procedure law professors get kind of excited about these new ones.
Yes.
So the 2012 decision of U.S. versus Jones says the police can't just put a GPS tracker on your car without having some sort of warrant. Okay. So they can't just do that on anyone.
Correct.
All right. So they can't put a GPS tracker. You have a freedom of travel. Okay.
Yeah,
Not just driving. You
And
need
they
a
don't
license.
have just a freedom to follow you.
And they don't have a freedom to just follow you, just for fun. Okay.
That's good, man. That's
So-
awesome. You know what I'm going to do now? Because all I have is time and hate.
You're going to bring this up to,
No, I'm going to
our
go.
Ninth Circuit.
I'm going to go park my car, my truck somewhere, and I'm going to purposely get a ticket.
It has to be chalking, though. This is specific to chalking. It's not just parking.
No.
It's just not just parking in any
I'd lose
instance.
my license.
Not just
He
parking.
said bring
in
my own chalk and like do it. No, I'd lose my license.
And I'll tell you, part of this decision, which I looked, it's not just because it's a search. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's also because the chalking tires is it's a money making thing for the city.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially now that it's a civil thing here.
It's money making. That's all it is. It's designed to make money. It's not, there's no safety concern that they're doing whatsoever.
Period.
Okay. There's nothing about this parking spot is bad. You shouldn't be there for a certain amount of time because anybody can park there just less than 2 hours.
Yeah, if you're there for over 2 hours, the world will end.
No, I'm not saying that. There are reasonable restrictions on some things, right? There's reasonable restrictions on parking. Right?
Sure, like
can
downtown needs to be accessible for everybody. You shouldn't be able to park at the courthouse and walk down to Fremont Street to go to a concert because there's people that need to conduct business down there. Sure. Also,
Okay.
I didn't sign up. I got there first.
The sovereign citizen over here. Okay.
Oh. No, I'm throwing it out there to kind of weave it back to what we were talking about earlier. That's a sovereign citizen.
The amount of time, like the reason we wouldn't recommend normally somebody to fight over this is because you can pay a $20 parking ticket, or you could hire us. What would it take for us to file a suit in the federal district court? And then if we lose there, you got to take it to the circuit court.
Or something like that?
Yeah, that's
way less than I'd charge you for something else.
Well, yeah, because
I'm interested.
You're bleeding hard on that.
No,
But
because it's tell me you wouldn't do the same thing for a case.
That's typically a 6-figure amount where you're writing a big appeal to the circuit court. This is
probably
a
only
huge
charge you like
undertaking.
$50,000. So you'd spend $50,000 to save 20, but
you'd save chalking for so many people.
Principle. right? And my name and your name would be in a law text.
And this is Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is not our area, Nevada, so it doesn't directly apply to us.
Sixth Circuit is north, center north, right?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you where the Sixth Circuit.
Ninth Circuit
is all west.
Fifth Circuit.
Sixth.
It better not
Kentucky.
be Kansas. Okay, good. I was
Kentucky,
like, if it's Kansas, I'm gonna feel
Tennessee,
so stupid.
Ohio, and Michigan.
Michigas. All right, yeah, I'm less concerned about not knowing that one.
Yeah, there's not many decisions that I know that come out of there, but that's the Sixth Circuit decision. Didn't go up to the U.S. Supreme Court, so we're kind of stuck with that decision back in 2019.
Not long ago, but definitely
Back in 2019. So argue this, and like I guess if you get a parking based on a chalk, you can use this case as persuasive authority. It is not binding authority on the city of Las Vegas, which is the one that we see.
I
Chalk's
think
tires.
the real interesting thing to do would be to not worry about appealing, but just to do it through federal district. Because that'd be cheaper and faster.
Well, you got to start there. No,
I'm just saying,
that's
like,
where it was.
I understand
They sued the
that's-
city for their violation of
Yeah,
of
and I think
rights.
that would be fun to do.
Well, you have to be a
could do-
harmed party, right? I guess
right?
You have to have somebody.
standing. I understand,
Yeah.
but like that just seems like
So we got to go get a ticket first.
I'll go see if they're chalking. If they will, I'll absolutely do it.
I've seen them chalk out
Chalk
front
me. Do it. I dare
a
you.
little bit. You usually park out there when it's less than 2 hours. So
I'm going to do it from now on. For
a really boring topic of chalk on your tires that is just a legal conundrum with the Fourth Amendment. Can you believe that?
That's the thing is like, this is what we end up talking about, whether or not it's legal to chalk someone's tires. This is what I paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn stuff for.
Hey, that's sometimes a question that people have, though.
Yeah.
Can they chalk my tires?
But how many times is it that like somebody calls or whatever about the seemingly most innocuous or stupid thing?
Which is a legally important
But
question,
to them,
right?
it's a big deal.
Yeah,
and
true.
and it's such like whether or not it's legal to chalk your tires. That's so difficult to answer, as opposed to something like the police kick down my door and just walk in. One seems like it should be a little bit more difficult than the other, Because it's
Yeah,
like,
well, there's all the facts matter. That's what we always say. We'll go with our listener question from our esteemed guest and listener who will remain nameless. L. Can we call him L? Is he okay with that?
them, they,
They.
Zezer
Yeah,
can be
whatever.
called L.
What are procedural differences between state and federal court? We've touched on this quite a bit. In civil, you have to have a unanimous jury to win your case,
And they're
as
smaller.
a plaintiff or defendant.
Aren't they 8?
You've done more than me. You have 8 in there?
I think it was only 8.
You don't have a right to do voir dire by yourself. Voir dire by yourself.
Voir dire.
You have to file a motion for approval,
And they will tell you no.
and they will tell you no.
And you get 10 minutes.
You don't get to file replies for your motions in limine without
Correct.
approval from the court. I mean, there's just
you
little.
have to have size 14 font, and it has to be Times New Roman, and your spacing between the lines has to be 1.5 or justified or some weird shit. Dude, that's the thing. I don't do federal court enough because it's so nuanced, and it's just the majority of what we get is in state court, right? So I don't have the
99%.
need or the desire to learn all that for something that I'm not going to be working on it a lot.
That would
yes,
be,
I'll look it
that
up.
That would be me. That would do that if we were there.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But also you have the other issue you have with federal court is you have local rules for each district court that are different.
Yes.
So it might be 14 with Times New
We
Roman
only
here.
have one district of Nevada, though.
Yes.
There's no southern
But
Nevada.
like, let's say it
northern
was
Nevada.
New York or Oklahoma where you've got the eastern, the western, northern, southern, whatever.
Yeah.
Your rules could be different. And you could be like on the edge. One town here, one town there. And if you file it in Times New Roman, denied. Whereas here, I don't think I've ever had anybody kick a motion back for that. I have had, which I think...
No, they kind of accept it and then just tell you at the hearing or something, hey, like,
I don't like your font.
clean this up, buddy. Like,
Or take your watermark off.
do this right.
Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did. Well, that was...
But I did have one in state court that I thought was incredibly stupid. It was a motion to place on calendar, but they wanted me to put in the title of the motion why.
I can kind of, like, then...
For what?
They're clued in on why.
It's concealed in the first paragraph, first sentence.
Oh, gosh.
But it has to be in the title?
I don't know. You've never worked on the other side, so you've only seen your view of things. It'll make their jobs easier. Let's do that so we don't get in trouble. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, thank you for coming to another episode of Tangled Rights.
Differences, though, is the point.
There are a lot of differences, and
Consult your local attorneys because it's difficult
yeah,
and frustrating.
yeah, and annoying.
But
We like
what
state
I will
court.
say about
We're used to it.
court clerks, one of the first lessons I was taught as an attorney by a supervising attorney was to always have them
Yes.
be nice to them. Because, and this guy was an old guy, so obviously we don't file this way anymore, but he's like, because when you go in there at 5:02
We used to do
and you
paper
drove
filings.
across town
Yep.
and you need it filed that day, you're going to wish that you knew Diane's kid's name. and you said you hope they had a happy birthday last time because she'll be like, oh, sweetie, it's okay.
I'm so
Versus 5 o'clock, you know? So that's fair. That's the best thing you could do.
You want
That's the best.
That's the best.
That's the best
advice.
thing you could do, Elle. That's the best procedural thing you could do. Be friendly.
All right. Thanks for listening yet again. Peace.
Keep following us.